Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Outlier podcast. Today it's Thursday. I woke up in the morning thinking it's already Friday, but it's okay. I don't complain about that. I've got Ryan with me. Hi Ryan. How
How
are
we
you doing,
doing?
sir? Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I wish it was Friday too. I'm there with you, man.
Wish it was Friday, right? So me and Ryan technically are neighbors. We are Jersey neighbors. That's what I can say. Ryan
Yes.
is based in Morristown. He's VP of Marketing of Affinity Federal Credit Union. Firstly, Ryan, thank you for taking our time out to do this with us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I appreciate you offering the invite, and it's always good to talk to another Jerseyan who gets the East Coast and is on the same time.
Obviously, obviously. So that's like table stake. That's the reason I was very excited. I don't interview a lot of Jerseyans, so it was table stakes for the first time. I would say I loved it. Connected to a fellow Jerseyan. Good. Uh, Ryan, let's start this with one question. So Ryan has spent almost more than 2 decades in marketing. So Ryan is not the typical credit union marketer that you see. We share similar background. He spent like multiple years in the agency world. After that, doing a bunch of other things, and then finally, actually, he spent some time in Institute, and then he moved to the credit union ecosystem around 4 years back, close to.
Yep.
But Ryan, do you want to talk about your journey, man? Let's talk about
Yeah.
your journey.
No, it's
What has been it so
hopefully it's
far?
an interesting one. I don't want to get into TV advertising like long, long time ago. I won't date it and age myself. Yeah, but you'd watch commercials and you're like, I think I could do a better job than that. And I just was always fascinated with that approach to branding and awareness. So I was just trying to get my foot in the door. I was at Edelman PR doing the digital component of press releases for Time Warner Home Cable when people used to get DVDs of movies back in the day. Working with like Rotten Tomatoes and Google.com. That's where I really got introduced to Google and paid media. So I ended up landing a job at an agency doing Google search, right? Everybody back then thought it was spam. Those ads are phishing. Lo and behold, Google turned into Google. I grew up with it. Eventually wanted to go in-house. Kind of thought like, all right, agency is great. A lot of different clients. Learned many, many different avenues of businesses, but I want to get deeper. I want to understand like what drives the bottom line.
Yep.
So moved in-house. Did that for a few years, then went back to the agency side, worked on Verizon Media, so wireless Fios, some really, really big household brand names, massive budgets. Learned a lot there, but then realized I appreciate in-house better. So when this opportunity came and arose, I was like, funny. I've been a member of the credit union 30 plus years. Um, so I feel like I have a unique experience already with the brand. I've never had a relationship at a big bank. Nothing against them, but credit unions have always appealed to me. So I interviewed, and lo and behold, I'm still here 4 years later, loving it. Definitely different than agency life. Definitely different than Verizon, at least from a budget size. But that's sort of how I ended up here. But I've done every avenue of marketing you can probably think of, from out of home, direct mail, billboards, paid search, paid display, programmatic, paid social. A lot of these things I've done since they became a thing, like since inception. So it's been very cool to see it evolve. It's been evolving rapidly, but that's what keeps it exciting for me, and why I keep doing marketing.
I'm sure, right? Let's talk about. By the way, me and Ryan, the first time, why did we click so well? I was someone who wanted to study journalism but studied engineering. But he is that long lost brother who actually studied journalism, right? So I was envious of him. Oh man, you're living my life. So let's talk about Ryan, about your motivation to move towards marketing from journalism, and that's one. Second, what made you move to credit unions?
So funny, I went to school for journalism as well. So we clearly have that in common. Ironically, environmental policy is what back then I was really excited about. Newspapers were dying. As simple as that statement is, it just was not a viable long-term path potentially for a career. So advertising was sort of the next closest thing to that skill set that I
That's
acquired through college. That like, all right, you like writing, you're a creative writer. Here's an area where you could take that talent and apply it. Granted, it's a slightly different beast that you're appeasing, but um, that was ultimately the shift from journalism into marketing for me. Um, credit union, again, it just was me being a member here for as long as I had, and I kind of felt like I was at Verizon and we had $1 billion budget, and you're like, hey, that $1 billion budget turned into $10 billion for you. And I remember having a rep, a C-level person there go like, so what? We did $100 billion last year. And it kind of was just like $10 billion didn't mean that much. And I kind of wanted to work somewhere where like I could make an impact, I could see the impact and actually move the needle and it'd be valuable. Like that was a key element to anything I was going to do in life was that like it needs to be meaningful for me. It can't just be like, oh yeah, so what? You did that, not really a big deal. And not that I needed my ego stroked, but I just kind of like I'm such a passionate human being that it's like I need something that passion can be showcased and allow me to kind of grow with it. So credit union ironically just worked out. Like I said, it was just timing and whether you believe in fate or destiny, or just pure coincidence, but the opportunity to run marketing popped up on my LinkedIn, and I was just like, "Oh, how funny would that be if I ran the marketing for the credit union that I've been a member at for most of my life?" And lo and behold, here I am. So that's sort of where the pivot came and how I ended up in credit union.
I understand. Now you've seen all the worlds, right? Well, not the rest of the world, but all the worlds. By the way, interesting. I was also in telco. I worked
Okay.
for large telcos like long back, like 5, 6 years back. I can relate to it. So how do you think, Ryan, is marketing in credit unions different than the rest of the world? Maybe Verizon or working with
Yeah.
your insurance background. So how is it different?
I honestly don't think it's that different, right? I mean, on the surface, you would feel it's different. But at the end of the day, it's really the same goals you're trying to achieve, right? We're trying to
Yeah,
find growth, trying to find more
yeah,
members.
yeah.
We're trying to provide better services and products for those members. Where I think it differentiates is, we don't have these massive for-profit budgets. Like I said, Verizon was $1 billion, and that was just digital. That didn't include TV and other things they did. I don't have anywhere near that size budget here. So, some of it you have to be a little scrappy. Some of it you have to be very calculated with how you're doing marketing. But in summary, what you're trying to accomplish is very, very, very similar to any of the clients I've ever had in the past, including insurance. It's just maybe some of the tactics are slightly different, and maybe the bottom line of the messaging. We're very big in community. That's like how we differentiate from other FIs and fintechs that are out there is that it's a community that you're joining. You're not just bringing your deposits and your cash here and it's all transactional. It's like no, we're trying to get back to the community. We're trying to provide you this ecosystem with a broader spectrum of solutions. These solutions, for many of them, are free. But at the end of the day, it's like the goal is the same. Like find new members, find growth, and keep evolving your products and services to fit those needs. So, um,
Yeah,
to answer
that's
your
that's
question, it's probably about the same.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, the philosophy is same. The philosophy is using marketing as a vehicle to drive growth. Be it Verizon, be it credit union or a big bank, it's all the same. It's
Yeah,
about just the nuances are different, right? Budgets are different, strategies are different, mission is different. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. I mean, I came from the larger ecosystem, working with the larger girls and boys, but now I know budgets are limited for credit unions, but still you can
yeah,
do much innovative things over here because it's community. It's not just uh, selling something, right? It's
yeah.
basically helping them. So I'm at least I'm hooked onto that concept, right? So now, obviously, Ryan, there are challenges that you face, right? Because it's a different setup. You came here 4 years back, I came here like 3.5 years back. All of us took some time to learn, how to market with members or prospects. So now I want to ask you about challenges. I mean, maybe, is there any unique challenges that you face while promoting member value
Yeah.
in a rapidly changing landscape? Because now you're not competing against just the other credit union next door. You're competing against the larger banks, the fintechs. I hate to use the term Netflix or Amazon, but possibly yes.
Yeah. It's like the definition of a community keeps evolving, right? So that's
Yeah.
partially what adds this unique challenge, like with technology rapidly evolving, a lot of the efforts, transactions, even
Yeah.
ways we communicate with people have moved to this digital footprint. It's so much harder to convince you about this community because the definition keeps changing. I mean, even with AI on the horizon, it's like, what does that really mean at the end of the day to community? 20 years ago, community was like, yeah, I'm going to the park down the street. I'm going to see my neighbors. We're going to hang out. It's a beautiful day outside. Not that that stuff doesn't happen, but community now means a very, very different thing. So that's certainly one element that makes selling that member value harder around community. The other thing is uh, fintechs and these startup companies that come in and have the new shiny object that is alluring to the masses. They put a nice big spokesperson behind it, some celebrity or athlete, and dump a ton of dollars, and it sounds great or it looks great on the surface, but if you read the fine print that's super, super tiny at the bottom, there's a lot of hurdles that person has to jump through to get whatever, the screaming advertisement is telling them that they're going to get day one. And so you get a lot of people where you have to like re-educate them and say, yeah, no, I get it. You were sold on that rate. Here's why you didn't get that rate. By the way, you're getting charged the fee because you didn't do those activities. And it's a lot of hand holding after the fact. And sometimes you get that opportunity and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, look, I can't get in front of that person. We don't have enough dollars or resources to always lead with education, because that is another unique way we target members is we care about your well-being. We put a lot of free literature education in front of you, but to get that in front of people in a lot of these channels, you need to spend money. Yes, you show up organically. Yes, you show up in AI results, but a lot of these platforms, it's pay to play. And if you don't have the dollars and resources, a SoFi or a Wells Fargo or Bank of America, they do, right? And they will find ways to minimize your opportunity to get in front of those people. So those are just some of the challenges. I mean, there's always new ones coming up too. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's for tomorrow to figure out. Today, right now, it's figuring out where they consider community and just making sure in those conversations. So
Yeah. I mean, because larger players come, and since I also work with these players that you named about, uh, it's a different ball game altogether. Right? I mean, having to compete against them, it's very difficult.
yeah.
So that also means, Ryan, we're talking about newspapers, right? Newspapers were obsolete. I don't think today anyone even do read newspapers. Possibly my father just gets one because he just likes the feel of it. I don't think anyone does it anymore. So digital is becoming more and more table stakes, right? I mean, be it that's a conversation to have with credit unions. A few of them are building more branches, and a few
Mm.
of them are investing more on digital capabilities, onboarding to your mobile banking, to digital banking. Now, that would also require very robust digital marketing strategy, right? Because you want to keep a prospect and hook them to your digital capabilities. So that's a funnel that you have to nurture now. It's a different type of funnel. So how has Affinity Federal, adapted to the new digital marketing strategy in the recent few years that you've been there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I did when I first took over was brought in some of the tactics in-house.
Yep.
Partially that was to tap into, my background expertise, but some of that was data utilization. We have a plethora of data on our members. Sharing that data externally, that's where it gets tricky, right? Because now it's a
Yeah.
sensitivity thing. There's a lot of NDAs got to be in place. You got to encrypt that data in transit at
Yep.
rest. So bringing some of that in-house, keeping it within our core systems that we already had those capabilities built into it, allowed us to utilize more of that data.
Yep.
And then that's really been A huge element that we've introduced over the last 3, 4 years is using that data to send timely messaging or when to not send messaging. The last
Yep.
thing I want to do is, hey, someone's struggling to make the credit card payments. Let me send them a bunch of promotional stuff encouraging them to use their credit
Yep.
cards. That literally goes against our fundamental core of caring
Yep.
about your well-being.
Yep.
But there's other people that it's like, hey, you're thriving, you're doing really well. There are rewards and incentives tied to utilization of your cards. So there's certain messaging you want to get out to those people. Data has been a huge element that we've introduced, and then using that for personalization, just like you do in your other life. It's
Yep.
building these campaigns and these tactics and these strategies that, like, yes, they're getting activities and adoption of our products and services, but making sure that we put the right products and services in front of the right people at the right time and
Yep.
use that data to get as confident that you're making the right decisions, right? I don't want to sell somebody something that it's not the right product for, or it's
No.
going to put them in a financial hardship. That's not why you work at a credit union. That's not at the core of what we do different, in the financial service space. It's yes, you're going to need these solutions. You're going to need an auto loan. You're going to need access to a line of credit or potentially capital to buy a house. We want to make sure, we are timely giving you those opportunities, but we're also educating you along the way. And we're also presenting when it makes sense, right? And if you're not there or you're ready for it, I don't want to bombard you with ads. I want to bombard you with the right appropriate messaging that's going to help you grow both as an individual financially, but also just as a human being in general. Like I said, that's a huge element of what we try at least to do different in the space is care about the whole person and not just like getting those transactions.
Yeah. You talked about data, right? Essentially. Uh, you talk about a bit how is Affinity actually leveraging data to personalize member experiences and communication?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so, some of that's one, getting it all centralized. That's foundationally the first thing you need to do is get it in a place where it's organized, you can trust it, you can validate the data, you can cleanse the data, and then we push it out into core systems, right? So we're a Salesforce shop, so a lot of our efforts are either coming out of Salesforce or Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and then using that to time journeys, time transactional communications like, hey, your HELOC rate just
Yep.
updated because the Fed made a cut. We want you to know that because it's a variable rate, right? We don't want you to assume, hey, it was at 4.9. Why did it go up? Why did it go down?
Yep.
So a lot of that is just using it to timely send that messaging so that you're aware of any of those shifts, especially around rates. Those are very sensitive conversations where, hey, I thought it was this and why is it this? um, and then building emails, building ads, using that data so that it feels like I'm speaking to you and not just to the masses. Again, I
Yep.
want you to feel that what we're trying to provide you has been
Yep.
tailored as much as it can, and data is a huge driver making that happen for us.
Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge data geek, so I keep on asking questions about data. So can't tell.
Data is a table stakes thing nowadays. I mean, it's been for years, and with AI on, like I said, on the horizon, it's just become more and more important
Basics. Unless
to
you use that
utilize it.
exactly. Unless you're using data, you're just throwing away your marketing dollars
Yeah,
and not utilizing them
because if
properly.
you're not doing it, your competitors, they definitely
Companies
are
doing it.
doing it, and you want to give them a leg up in the competition. I mean, you're going to lose pretty easily, pretty quickly. Like you said, burn a lot of money in the process, and you won't be here maybe tomorrow to test and learn and try something new. So
Done. My next question, Ryan, is across lesson, right? So is there a surprising lesson that you have learned across your career that you wish you would know earlier because you've got a illustrious career of more than 2 decades, right? I mean, I have multiple lessons that I have learned that I should have learned being a kid. But do you have any of them?
I have a few. One, I should have bought Bitcoin when it was $50. I just didn't understand mining.
All of us, right?
So that is one I'll take to the grave that will bother me forever. I did have a chance to buy it at $50. Granted, I probably would have sold it at like $150. So, that's the silver lining. Should have invested in PayPal and Amazon. Knew about that back in 1999. Didn't. I'll be kicking myself for that one too. But no, going to the career question, probably that the people above me, leadership, aren't as refined, polished, and knowledgeable as I think I thought when I was junior in my career. And not to say that they aren't trying, but I guess I always anticipated like, oh, leadership knows exactly what to do, always, and has the answer. And at
Okay.
the end of the day, they're just people like you and me, where they're saying, I'm trying my best and I'm trying to figure it out, but our landscaping keeps changing. So I'm guessing at best, and maybe this might not be the right answer. I think that would have given me a little bit more confidence earlier in my career that, um, not everybody is always as perfect as you think they might be. And maybe that would
Obvious.
give me a little bit more confidence to test, learn, and be creative with how I approach problem solving back then.
I This is so relevant. I mean, it's a controversial statement that I'll make next. A
Yeah,
few days back, I was in the I was in the subway, New York subway, and I found a billboard. I don't know what that billboard, who was that billboard meant for, or who did put up the billboard. It said, "Do not trust everyone because at times even the fools turn old." So it means
that's funny.
there's a group of people, right? If you trust everyone because of the wisdom, it's not really the case because that's what we talked about right now. It's
Yeah.
so relevant.
Unless it's checked, then you blindly trust it.
That's a different question altogether.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, in the interest of time, wrapping the episode with one last question. So, how do you foster creativity and experimentation within your group? Because marketing needs experimentation. Marketing needs do things, fail fast, move next. So, how do you do that?
Yeah. And you just hit it on the head. Fail fast, right? That is one of the cornerstones I tell my team is like, look, test, question. Um, you know, there's no right or wrong way to do something, but learn
Yep.
quickly from it, good or bad, and make adjustments. And don't be afraid to say, yep, I thought that was a great idea. Data's telling me it did not work out. Learn from that test and then apply it to the next learning. Um, Questioning is probably the one motivator I try to put with my team and say, hey, like, yes, this is how we've done it. Yes, this is how historically we've tried to solve this problem. Don't, just question for the sake of questioning, but don't be afraid to be like, well, why did we do it that way? And what if I did an alternative way? What would happen? Again, those are happy mistakes sometimes that surface when you question something. You say, "Oh, we always did it this way. Well, let me just see what happens if I go this way." So I try to pose a lot of questions and not necessarily to micromanage my team. I definitely give them the flexibility,
Yep.
the freedom to own their areas. One, so they're accountable for it, but two, they have that ability to learn from it. But sometimes just posing a couple questions and saying, well, "What about this? Did you think of it from this perspective?" And I know that's not groundbreaking, but I learned early in my career when people asked me questions, it made you think and it made you pause and go like, yeah, I didn't think of it from that angle. Let me take that back to the drawing board, come up with a couple ways to maybe problem solve that, and then let me go test them. And then I see what the data tells me worked, what didn't work, and then I'll learn from that, and then I'll take those learnings and apply it to the next thing I want to do. So the nice thing with us going so digital in marketing, over the last 10 years is I think it's given us the data to learn fast. Probably 30, 40 years ago, it was much, much harder to identify what really worked, what didn't work. So you're almost afraid to change anything because you're like, well, I don't know, maybe that really did work. How do I really measure that ad over here drove you into a storefront where there's no digital tracking to tell me one did the other? So I think that's the other huge element here is we just have data to validate quickly capabilities or not. So I just tell team like trust the data to some extent. Don't be blind to the data. Question, right? And be willing to learn fast from your tests and adjust. So
Yep. And this was amazing. It was like talking to another fellow marketer.
Oh, I
Go
hope you're
see
not
the
lying there, but
outside
thank you.
world. This was great, and thank you again for your time today.
No,
I
of
really
course.
appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. Always nice to meet a familiar face in the journalism marketing space. So thank you. Appreciate it.